Good afternoon, and we're going to call to order the open session of the Board of Directors of Tahoe Forest Hospital District to order. Can General Counsel lead us out of closed session, please?
Yes, thank you. The board considered 6 items in closed session this evening. First item, which was a hearing under Health and Safety Code 32155, there was no reportable action. With respect to items 5.2 and 5.3, which were liability claims, the board approved a notice of untimely claim filing with respect to both of those items on a 5-0 vote. Item 5.4, closed session minutes were approved on a 5-0 vote. There was no reportable action related to the public employee performance evaluation. And the final item, 5.6, medical staff credentialing, those were also approved on a 5-0 vote.
Thank you so much for that. Now we can have input from our audience, and this is an opportunity for the public to speak to the board. We have some rules to follow. If you'll come up to our lectern, if you'd like to speak, you have 3 minutes to present to the board. And just so that you know that the board can't respond to it because it hasn't been agendized, but we certainly acknowledge whatever information you want to present to us. So if we have any members, you want to come to the lectern and make sure that it's on and give your name. Maybe if you could just sit, sir, if you could just sit until she's done, and then we'll have you come up rather than standing in line. Oh, that's that climate.
Red. Yeah, okay. Good evening. It's good to see you all again. Happy New Year. For the record, my name is Deirdre Henderson. The year 2023 was the hottest on record because of our addiction to burning fossil fuels and the pollution and atmospheric warming that causes. So, and we have all seen the climate effects of this in the United States and around the world during 2023. So we need to reduce our carbon pollution and transition to safe, clean, cheap, renewable energy, and we all must do our part to achieve that with a sense of urgency. So the National Academy of Medicine issued a paper at the end of November that urged what you all can do. The title was Crossing the Decarbonization Chasm, a call to action for hospital and health systems leaders to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Why should you care? Well, the NAM paper has some reasons. Economic benefit, employee recruitment and retention, emergency management and resilience benefit, health equity, high value care, reputation and reputational risk, and social benefits. Let me quote from the report. C-suite leaders and governing board members of hospitals and health systems are critical in implementing decarbonization initiatives. Achieving real progress will require recognition of barriers to such efforts within healthcare organizations. These include competing priorities, lack of capital to make upfront investments, lack of staff expertise or capacity to implement decarbonization efforts, and cultural barriers, for example, resistance to change. However, best practices in this space are now available, and to accelerate decarbonization, healthcare leaders need to help cross the implementation chasm between aspirations and reality. So they also set forth 5 basic steps that they recommend for hospital and health system leaders to take to structure their decarbonization journey. So you'll find those in the packets that I've prepared, which contain the call to action as well as another paper issued by the NAM at the same time on how healthcare organizations can use the Inflation Reduction Act to reduce costs. And I've also included an article from Modern Healthcare written by members of the National Academy's Action Collaborative on Decarbonizing the U.S. Health Sector, the title of which is Embracing Sustainability Makes Good Business Sense. So it's 2024, and we look forward to your exercising your leadership and contributing to achieving the greenhouse gas reduction goals of your community, state, nation, and globe. Our children, grandchildren, and future generations deserve no less. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre. And just to let you know that we have been on a journey. We don't have anything to present at this time, but we have taken action on some of the things. Where is Ted? Our alliance, Transformation Alliance, was one of the steps that we've taken to join that, as well as some of the articles that we have and other things that we're doing to get that information and to be able to do something with it. So thank you.
It's good to hear that you are doing all these things. So let me add to what Deirdre had to say. I'm John Sorensen. I'm a Truckee resident. According to the Center for Disease Control, and I'm quoting here, climate change could decrease average life expectancy by 6 months. The health effects of climate change disruptions include increased respiratory and cardiovascular disease, injuries and premature deaths related to extreme weather events, changes in the prevalence and geographical distribution of food, waterborne illnesses and other infectious diseases, and threats to mental health. Our associated risk is that we live in a dry, overgrown forest, and because of our higher average temperatures, we have increased risk that we'll have a catastrophic wildfire in our North Tahoe community soon. We all have experienced the smoky days from nearby fires when we know it's not healthy to be outside. These represent health risks that we who reside here all face. Your clinical staff at Tahoe Forest they work at Tahoe Forest partially because they like living here, just like we do. Your clinicians are members of our community, and we talk to them. We know that they are concerned about climate change effects on healthcare. However, Tahoe Forest does not seem to have a culture that accommodates these concerns or the communication of those concerns to those who reside and work here. One of the easiest things you could do to make sure that your clinicians are comfortable acting on what they know to be real health concerns is partnering with Climate RX. It's an organization whose sole purpose is to help healthcare providers engage with their patients on climate health connection. This is free, low-hanging fruit. Overall, the Tahoe Forest Administration appears to be out of step with both the community and your staff. We would like to see the hospital start to show some degree of interest and action on this front in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen. And again, just to reiterate it, that we are on the journey and that we will be having the assessment done and then looking at what is it that we have capacity and sustainability to maintain. So thank you again. If there's no further audience input, then we'll move on to employee input from our Employees Association. It doesn't look like we have anybody from there either, so we'll continue to move on. For item 12, we have the Medical Staff Executive Committee. We have Dr. Koch to present the consent calendar from their meetings.
Good evening, and I have only one item on our consent agenda this evening, and that is the standardized procedure for lab and imaging results reviewed by the RN. This relates to our indirect nursing team primarily, but also in-clinic nurses, and it's really just expanding the definition on paper of what the nurses are already doing. It's not expanding their role. So it's documenting what the nursing staff is already doing. They are helping providers manage inbox issues, whether the provider's in the office or not, but specifically this focuses on what protocol they will follow when they review lab results, review X-ray reports, to make sure that appropriate follow-up is created and that if there's an urgent result, especially if the provider's out of the office, that issue is handled without delay. And so the changes in this policy are not procedural changes, they're just procedural documentation of what's already being done. Do you have any questions about this?
I just had one, Dr. Koch. This is focused not only on RNs, but other staff as well, or is it just RNs only?
This is for RNs only.
Okay, thank you.
And it allows for no delay in patient care or patient services.
I don't think there is any such thing as no delay in patient care or patient services, but it certainly does as good a job as we can at avoiding delays in patient care or patient services. Most of all, this is addressing inbox issues. So if a lab result comes in and is a critical abnormal, the hope is that the nursing team will catch that early and bring it to the attention of a provider, whether or not the ordering provider is in the clinic.
Okay. Are there any other questions about the medical staff consent agenda from our board members, from our audience? Then can I have a motion to approve the Medical Executive Committee's meeting consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the Medical Executive Committee consent agenda as presented by Dr. Koch.
No, second it.
Okay, so it's been moved by Director Barnett, seconded by Director Brown, to approve the Medical Executive Committee meeting consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Then it's been approved. Thank you so much for your presentation. Then we'll move on to 13, the consent calendar, and these are usually reports or policies that have already been reviewed and are here for the board. Is there anything that any of the board members want to pull at this time? No. There were a couple things, I think, legal counsel. There was a attachment that was incorrect, the charter for, we had a resolution, and if the charter was not the correct charter, do we need to pull that and do that, or can we just approve the resolution and make sure the correct charters?
The
Are they-
finance committee meeting?
The charters that are attached to the resolution there's one that's incorrect?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. It's
Finance committee
Well, it's-
is incorrect. It states that the treasurer will be the chairman of that
It's not that
committee.
it's incorrect, but you won't approve the new chart, you just reviewed it 2 days ago. You'll
Right.
approve it
Yeah.
in February.
So in February, we'll do it again.
So there's
And I-
no changes needed then to the resolution or the attachments there too?
No, I think Alice noticed something was missing on the community engagement.
The community, we made two revisions on the community engagement. We took out the word just, and it was something related to community health. And there was something also in the guiding principles.
So why don't we pull that, and then we can, when we make the motion to approve it, we can correct those errors via motion.
Okay,
But let's do that separately, as not to
okay.
interfere with the rest of the
it.
consent agenda. So that's item 13.5?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll pull that.
And then we'll have that at 15. Okay. Is there anything else that a member of the board would like to pull for further discussion? Anything from our staff? Okay, then can I have a motion to accept the consent calendar without item 13.5?
If there's any public comment, Chair Wong?
Oh. Any public comment? No. Okay. Then can I have a motion to accept the consent calendar without 13.5?
So moved.
A second?
Okay, so it's been moved by Director Shamlin, second by Director McGarry, that we approve the consent calendar without 13.5. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, then the motion carries. We'll go to item 14, and the first item is fourth quarter 2023 and 2023 annual corpus compliance report. And I think we have Catherine. I'm sorry, Linda. Linda Howard on the line.
There we go.
Yes, hi, Linda Howard, I'm the corporate compliance consultant from the Fox School. And I will go over the 2023 corporate compliance program combined fourth quarter report and annual report. This report is designed to assist the board to meet its obligations, to be knowledgeable about the content and the operation of the 7 components of an effective compliance program. The written policies and procedures is one of those elements. The district's corporate compliance policies and procedures are reviewed and updated as needed. For 2023, there were no policies that were updated. I'm assuming you have a copy of the report. There's a list in the report of the members of the corporate compliance committee. And the corporate compliance committee is made up of the compliance professionals, privacy officer, as well as leadership throughout the organization. Education and training, all of the employees are assigned annual HIPAA and privacy and security training, and also compliance program training via health streams. In addition to that, there's a code of conduct and health that is presented through health stream as well, and the staff members and physicians are given that as a part of their orientation program. With effective lines of communications, we have a hotline that allows for compliance reporting of compliance issues. There were no reports made to the hotline during the fourth quarter, and 7 calls were made through the hotline in 2023, which resulted in 3 privacy investigations. HIPAA violations are reported to the privacy officer, and the privacy officer maintains the log of reported events and investigations. 9 reports were investigated in the fourth quarter of 2023, and 34 reports were investigated by the privacy officer in 2023. Those reports fall into a number of different categories. Those categories include billing, registration, patient results, mailing, electronic files, faxing, patient complaints, record disposals, public disclosures, employee access, business associate reported breaches, incorrect registration, incorrect marriage, or unsecured misdirected mail. The compliance department also publishes articles in the PaySetter each quarter. For 2023, there were a total of 4 articles published. The next standard is enforcement standards through well-publicized disciplinary actions. So new hires are required to complete the health stream course in corporate compliance and HIPAA, and 249 new hires completed the training. The on-time completion rate for 2023 was 98.35%. 58 new hires completed that required training for the fourth quarter. The completion rate for the employees for the annual compliance training is 98.6%. All new hires and newly privileged positions receive criminal background checks. They also get checked against the OIG and the GSA exclusion list prior to being hired. And that exclusion list is a list that the government puts together of individuals that have engaged in some activity that caused them to be excluded from participating in government healthcare programs. So we do a check to make sure that no hires, no physicians or volunteers are on that exclusion list. And that exclusion check is done on a monthly basis, as well as at the time of hire. Auditing and monitoring, we have, in accordance with the 2023 Corporate Compliance Work Plan, we conducted 12 audits in 2023. During the fourth quarter, there was one audit. There were 3 audits done during the first quarter. 2 audits were completed in the second quarter, and 6 audits were completed in the third quarter. Responding to detected offenses and corrective action initiatives. There were no investigations of suspected or actual compliance incidents initiated during the second, third, or fourth quarter. In the third quarter, in the first quarter, there were 3 investigations. Routine compliance support. The compliance department provides routine support for Tahoe Forest initiatives, and we are accessible for all of the employees as well as the leadership. Okay. That concludes the report for the fourth quarter and the annual report. Okay. And I think the next item is the work plan. The compliance department puts together an annual work plan every year. This is the 2024 work plan. And again, the work plan is also based on the elements of an effective compliance program. Policies and procedures are identified, reviewed, and revised on an ongoing basis. The high-level overview relates to the board of directors. The board of directors' responsibility is oversight over the compliance program. In order to ensure that the board of directors has the information that they need to effectively do that oversight, the compliance officer provides quarterly and annual compliance reports to the board of directors, similar to the report that I just gave. Also, the board of directors is asked to do an evaluation of the corporate compliance program. So both of those are on the work plan for the first quarter, and the quarterly reports is every quarter. Education, training, and communication. Education and training for the code of conduct and the compliance program is done for new hires on an There's an annual attestation to the code of conduct that is signed in the fourth quarter by all employees and positions. Health screening training, content related to the compliance and legal program is also offered on an ongoing basis. There's a value training that includes HIPAA and compliance that's offered on an ongoing basis. The board of directors compliance training, we have that scheduled for the first quarter of this year. Annual compliance training for directors, managers, and supervisors will be done during the second quarter. Medical staff annual compliance training also during the second quarter. Bi-monthly communications to staff using the Pacesetter is on the schedule as it was last year to be done on a quarterly basis. So every quarter there will be an article published The supplier's code of conduct is on an ongoing basis. That is distributed to vendors when they are brought on board, and then it's all vendors on an annual basis. Monitoring and auditing, there are a number of audits that will be taking place throughout the year. They are listed on the work plan. The work plan was presented to the compliance committee, and the compliance committee, as well as the compliance officers, had an opportunity to identify which areas might be considered high-risk areas for us to audit. Other areas were areas that we felt that we should audit on a routine basis. Those audits are, we distributed them throughout the year, and they are reported on upon completion to the compliance committee. If there are any adverse findings with those audits, then a corrective action plan is put in place. Response, investigation, corrective action, and reporting. We respond and investigate and follow up on all hotline calls. That's on an ongoing basis. And we also give the 2023 annual report on authorized disclosures is reported to the Department of Health and Human Services on an annual basis. That report is due March, so it is on schedule for the first quarter for us to report any reportable incidences. Enforcement and discipline. Enforcement of the exclusion policy for employees, medical staff, and vendors. I talked about earlier that we have to do checks in order to ensure that we are not hiring anyone that is excluded from participation in the government health program. And so we take action to make sure we are enforcing that, responding promptly to detective offenses, and undertaking corrective action. And that's on an ongoing basis. If we identify an issue, we respond to it, and also put a corrective action plan in place if necessary. I don't know whether this is my first time doing this report, so I'm not sure if the process is to allow for questions.
I have a question.
Okay, just a minute. You want to say something?
Well, I was just going to see, Rory, do they need to use the mic, the handheld mic?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question, Linda. Thank you for that. My question is under monitoring and auditing. There's a report under here called Break
Break the glass.
Can somebody enlighten me as to what the Break the Glass report is?
Okay, so break the glass is a control that's put in place to help ensure that employees do not access medical records that they don't have a business need for.
Oh, okay.
And so there are instances, sometimes it's for high-profile people, sometimes it's employees that request to have a break the glass put on their record. And so before someone enters the record, there's a notice that pops up to ask, do you have a need for it? And then, so it's like they then have to, quote, break the glass in order to enter the record. It doesn't stop them from entering the record, but it does get them to think about whether or not they have a need for it, so that we know that if they enter that record, they have made a conscious decision to enter it, and it wasn't an error.
Okay, great. Thank you. We talked about that earlier. So but it wasn't referred to in those terms. Thank you, Linda.
This is Director Barnett. I have a question here. When I'm looking at the report under 4.2.2, and I'm looking at the patient complaints section, it looks like we had 0 patient complaints. So does that mean that all of the reports that are identified were caught by our compliance system?
Yes, it could have been the compliance system, it could have been someone calling, an employee calling the hotline, but it wasn't coming from a patient complaint.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from our board? Any questions from our audience regarding the corporate compliance? It was both the report for fourth quarter the annual for 2023, as well as the work plan for 2024. A lot of information.
Move for action for each of them.
Yeah, so if we could have now an approval of the, let me,
Move to approve the compliance report.
okay. Could I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, moved by Director Brown, seconded by Director Barnett, to approve the corporate compliance report as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Then Linda, you have our approval.
You do
So-
need a motion for the corporate compliance work plan for 2020.
Oh, is that a separate one? Okay.
Separate motion.
So now we need a,
I'll move to approve the compliance work plan
okay, a
as
second.
presented.
I'll second that.
So it's been, it has been, what's the word I'm trying to find?
It's been seconded.
It's been moved by Director McGarry, second by Director Shamlin, to approve the corporate compliance work plan for 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then the work plan is also approved. Okay, then,
Linda?
and we'll see you in another quarter.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, then we'll move on to 14.3, and this is our master agreement, our master service agreement with Mercy, and I think, Jake, you're going to tell us about it?
Or was it on? Yeah, all right, here we go. Good evening, board. Thank you, Chair Wong. Yes, my name is Jake Dorst. I am the Chief Information Officer for Tahoe Forest Health System, and I need a haircut, apparently. I didn't notice it was that way. Yeah. The mirrors are all broken in my house. So yes, this is for the renewal and addendum to the master service agreement between Mercy Health Support Services, which is the company that provides us with the hosting for our Epic electronic health record. It's hard to believe it's been 7 years, but that was the original term, so it's up. So we, with the help of people like Crystal and Jeff Rosenfeld and Kyle Cattell, we were last couple of months, I guess, it was conference calls with Mercy Technology Services, just going over the changes that they wanted and the changes that we wanted, and I think we came to a good accord. The main contract is for 5 years, to renew it for 5, with the option to renew twice, 1 year and then 1 year out. So really it's good for 7, but we can get out of it in 5 if there's some craziness that happens with that. Let's not say that. So the total subscription value of this contract is $12,427,712. And I think it demonstrates too, with the Epic and our commitment with Mercy, we had very good conversations. I made a joke like, man, we should renew every year because we were having really good negotiation type speak with the Mercy folks about things that we wanted to see more of, specifically around the people that we have spent time and treasure getting certified in Epic modules and giving them a little bit more access on the Mercy side to do more here than having to call them to open up projects, which are called statements of work. And that was one of the guarantees in the contract, is the rate that we will pay for those. If you noticed, in the old one was $135 an hour, which I don't know how I got that, but that was a good one.
It's still 170, right?
Yeah.
Which is still pretty
good.
low.
Pretty low for that
IT
level.
work, yeah.
The going rate's 100 to 200, and that's very average. So, and usually in healthcare and Epic type stuff, it's 20 or 30% higher. So I think we got a good rate on that. And then the escalation rate that we had, and they were smart this year. They put an escalator in it because we've been stuck on 135 for 7 years, which 7 years ago was good then, but now you look at it, it's very good. Hopefully with the added autonomy that we're expecting that they've committed to us verbally, we didn't want to put a lot of that language in the contract because it's messy. But I think with their commitment to us to allow our staff more freedom in the software engine room, I should say, that we'll cut those professional service fees. So that's the only time we pay those is when we need them to do something for us. So I think we've had a good relationship with the last 7 years. I really think it's helped us bring us to where we are today, having that electronic health record compared to where we were. I think it was definitely the right move, and I think they were the right partner. Honestly, I think they've been very forthcoming with their help. And with the Mercy, they're an 8-star right now, and there's a 10-star Epic system out there, 10 being the most, using every module that Epic sells, and they're at 8. When we went with them, they were at 9. But that's because they weren't using the Stork module, but we've now incorporated the Stork module, which is for OB. They have nifty names like that, like ER is ASAP. Yeah. And the pharmacy module's Willow, which is where aspirin comes from. So yeah, I think it's been a good partnership, and I recommend moving forward. I'd like to get a motion from the board tonight to move to approve amendment number 1 to the master service agreement with Mercy Health and Tahoe Forest Hospital District as presented in your packet, and authorize the president and CEO to sign that contract.
Does our board have any questions about the agreement?
Yeah, I've got one. Jake, my recollection is on occasion, we've had to go to, what do they call it, Big Epic? Go direct to Epic for some of the issues that Mercy wasn't.
But that wasn't going around. Mercy suggested we go to Big Epic because they were like, look, Epic needs to hear you say this. It's not just us. Right?
So when we go to Big Epic, do we have to pay them for those services? No. Okay.
And we don't have to go to them. Like, that was a suggestion from Mercy proper, was like, look, we can't do this. We need, what you're wanting needs to come from the Epic Corporation.
Yeah.
So they set up that meeting. And they helped us out too with some reporting and things. Big Epic did.
Yeah.
And that's one of our goals this year, is to have more of a presence at Mercy proper. I don't like calling them Big Epic, but it's
Yeah, Big Epic or whatever.
corporate Epic.
Well, is there ever a chance that we'll deal directly with Epic?
I never say never, Dale.
Never say never, yeah. But at this point.
At this point, we're hosted. The point of hosting it is we don't have to buy a massive amount of staff and hardware to run Epic.
Yeah.
If we're directly contracted with Epic, it's on us to provide that. And you're talking, at least 100% increase in IT staff, probably $10 to $20 million worth of hardware.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't host it here. I'd definitely have to put it in the cloud, so it's a task to switch. But I like having their expertise because they also run 30-plus hospitals, and they see a lot of things, and they understand it when we talk. Epic doesn't run hospitals per se, right?
Okay. So locking in long-term, you don't think is the possibility of ever going to?
No, I wanted to go longer.
Okay.
Because we have deals in there too that, like, if there is some upheaval where Epic refuses, we had to ask Epic proper just to host us because we're in California and they were in St. Louis, and most of their hospitals that they own and host were all close to their service area. So when they came to Epic and they were like, well, we have a California West Coast outpost we want to set up. And they were like, So we had to go, I had to talk to the folks at Epic just to tell them, that we really want this. And their competitors that were close to us weren't in the same league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jake, with our presence at Big Epic.
Yeah.
How will that help us?
So Corporate Epic has two major conferences a year. They have the UGM, which is a user group meeting, and then they have the MGM. Going to those, having a presence there, they have kind of offshoots for hospitals that are in our same type of situation, what's called Community Connect, where they're hosted by other organizations, and you get to go there, you get to see what the roadmap looks like. The things that we read on the internet, or we're kind of told by Mercy, this would kind of put us in the commander's seat, because then we know, oh, well, we saw this at the user group, when are we getting this? I think that will help us in the long run really stick to their roadmap, because they've got a lot of really, Epic has brought a lot of really interesting and I think highly functional new modules and directions that they're going, especially around AI, and they've partnered with Microsoft to do a lot of what they call the DAX, which is voice recognition software to help, which we're piloting right now. But it looks good. And those are the types of things I want to hear from Epic.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one other question. You have given us those reports on attempts to hack into our system.
Right.
I assume Epic has the same problem?
I don't know if they have the same technology we have, but yeah, everybody's got that problem.
Everybody's got the problem, yeah.
Whether they know it or not.
Right.
We know it because we've invested money in looking at those types of things.
Yeah, well, I just wonder, since we're connected to them.
We're not. We're not connected to Epic at all.
We're not?
No.
Okay.
We're connected to Mercy.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yes.
We're connected to Mercy. When we're connected to Mercy and they get hacked, what is the...
Don't say that.
What is the chance that it filters through to us? Is it...
We don't have a lot of on-prem, so we have a very limited pipe that goes to Mercy. It's called a VPN, Virtual Private Network, and it's very segmented. So if Mercy got had and they were able to get into their VPNs, they're not going to be able to get to a lot here. Mm-hmm. Server-wise, they can hit endpoints, possibly, but maybe some printers. But there's not a huge threat. Mercy's probably more a threat of us getting hacked, and we're putting malware on their network.
Yeah, okay.
So
I just wonder if you ever have a discussion with Mercy about...
They're not worried about us. We've got a pretty clean, compared to some of their others, I guess. We've got a decent security. In fact, two of my staff attended the disaster recovery conference down in Nevada, or Carson City, and they walked away like, man, we're doing really good. This is where everybody else is at. So that's good, but we've spent the money to get there.
Yeah.
And it's been a high priority for us for the last 2 years. So I think it's a lot better. You can't let your foot off the gas on that. That's something you got to stay with.
Okay.
Where's our data hosted? Is it?
It's
local?
Well, it depends. If you're talking about Epic data, it's out in St. Louis.
Yeah.
In the area. It's not in St. Louis proper.
Yeah.
Mercy, when they went down this road, invested in 2 massive data centers that are fully redundant, each one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a mirror image. If you've ever been out to Switch, I don't know if you've ever been out there. It's similar to that.
Yeah, okay.
They've got double everything. And they've got 2 of those. So that's the main site. And it's in Tornado Alley, which doesn't give, but the building is rated for 7, class 7 or, yeah. But it's strange because it looks like a normal building, but they're like, oh, well, that whole front is designed to just rip away. The building itself is just a giant reinforced concrete block with 50-something thousand gallons of water underneath it that they can pump up to cool the servers.
Okay.
It's not under armed guard though, like Switch, but they do have disappearing ink. So you get a badge that only lasts about 2 hours
Oh, fun.
with the barcode on it.
Disappearing.
It disappears. So like, if you're in here and after 2 hours, you're going to
Like,
get,
so our patient data is sitting on those
Yeah.
servers. Okay.
Any questions about the contract? Now, we could probably talk about
Yeah, there's different- I
IT
mean,
and
this is-
security for the night, but any comments?
nope.
Any comments from our audience?
I just wanted to touch on Dale's question about Epic and their benefit with their connection with Mercy and us. The other thing that Epic works with Mercy on is, as Jake mentioned, we're really the only California hospital Mercy has. So some of the rules and regulations in billing and other areas that we have to follow as a California entity, they can leverage Epic if they have built it before for California, which actually saves us some money because they don't have to build from scratch at Mercy, and they can get the build from Epic. We still have to pay for them to figure out how to implement it into the Mercy Epic side, but it's actually a cost saving for us to be able to do that, and they do have California hospitals with Big Epic, whatever you want to call them.
There's a lot of Epic. in
And so we
California.
can leverage that being Mercy's only California hospital, so that's the other benefit of the relationship.
Thank you for that point, Crystal. Any other comments from our audience regarding the contract? If not, let's go on to a motion to approve the amendment number 1 to the master service agreement between MHM Support Services, which is Mercy, and Tahoe Forest Hospital District as presented. And for the president and CEO to sign.
I'll move approval.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Director Shamlin, second by Director Brown, that we approve the amendment number 1 for the master service agreement as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So you can have him sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
All right. We did pull an item, 13.5, from our consent calendar, and we'll discuss that now. It is the resolution, let me pull it up.
Yeah. Engagement.
Which committee?
Finance.
It is 13.5.1, and if we look at the attachment of the charters, and it's the Community Engagement Committee Charter, and my understanding, and I look back at the meeting, it's the last sentence in purpose. This committee is about improving health over just providing health care. That sentence was changed.
Yeah, that's not the original sentence that was, so the committee, it originally said this committee is about health over healthcare. And it was changed to that.
I thought the word was just, because you said you,
Just was, the word just was stricken.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took it
Oh,
out.
it was.
Martina, do you have the revised charter for that based on the approval that Chair Wong is talking about?
It was a simple thing about just, yeah. It was, because you had made it, and it,
Yeah, that was my suggestion.
So I think it's correct here.
Yeah, I think it looks,
Prioritize health over healthcare.
The word just needs to be removed.
It's not in here.
it's not in here.
I have it in
It's in the one
mind.
I'm,
Well, no, in the,
In the
under
purpose.
purpose.
Under guiding principles, which is at the bottom.
No, so yeah, it was,
Oh, I see. He's
It's under
talking about
purpose.
At the top,
Yeah.
purpose. The last sentence in purpose.
Okay, so remove just.
And then we were,
was that the only change?
Right.
Providing healthcare.
and no, I thought under guiding principles, we changed prioritizing health over healthcare.
I have that it was,
Well, we have it
I'm trying
correct
to look
under,
at the difference, focus on community health. was
So-
added.
under guiding principles, it's the fifth one, and that's correct, but in the preamble up here, it isn't, it's the way it was before. So the committee is about improving health over healthcare, instead of just providing, which is what I found objectionable.
Okay, so remove just and providing.
Correct.
So we don't have it in our minutes? What, because I thought there was something that was related only to health. And there was nothing that we use healthcare with. Is there a way that we can hold this until I can pull those up from the video?
Can we hold it over to next month?
Just put it on the February agenda, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
We
can
can pass
do
it
that. We may,
Can you pass a resolution?
I think it's better to just hold it over till next month, but
Okay.
I mean,
we'll have to look at the minutes as well, because the minutes that we approved, that your body approved this evening, it looks like it just said, directors agree to add focus on community health. So we'll need to, we may need to look back at the video to make sure that we've got all the changes as approved.
Okay, so we'll table approval of the resolution on the board committees until next month.
And including the finance committee, the change there too.
Well, that'll come automatically with it, okay.
Okay.
you know, I think.
I think we'll just keep it until next month.
So the action is to review the video,
Right,
so we can pull from that discussion what we all agreed to.
right.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need to discuss here, or
Okay.
rehash what we already discussed.
Okay, so then we'll go to board committee reports, and my understanding is finance met.
Yes, finance met, we had a report from Chandler Associates, and based on their stellar performance over, Crystal, has it been 2 years now with Chandler? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but we felt, the committee felt that reviewing the quarterly written reports was fine, but we didn't need to have the representatives of the company meet with us except twice a year. Once at the end of 6 months and one at the end of the fiscal year. So that's a small change we made in. Also, we discussed behavioral health, and we're experiencing some growth, obviously, in that area. How we're being compensated was a question we had. How we evaluate productivity and the success of practitioners. And so we were kind of hoping that maybe this is a good topic for the board retreat, is to come up to speed, Brian, if we could, at the board retreat. I think that the full board ought to be apprised of what goes on here, not just the finance committee, but we discussed it at the finance committee, so.
Okay. Anything from any of our foundations?
Yes. The foundation met, a couple of items there. One, Lauren Lassard was added as a board member, which was actually approved in our consent agenda tonight. Get to my notes here. Current year-to-date fundraising, $515,000, which is pretty consistent with years past. There was a fairly lengthy discussion around, I think everyone's aware, this is our 75th anniversary year.
Yeah.
So what types of events and how can we be inclusive not make it sort of an elite gala of, black tie that only a few people could attend. How do we celebrate the 75th? That's really more community-wide. So a really engaging discussion around that. Some discussion and presentation around areas of greatest need and potential use of funds in the future.
Okay.
And I met with the Incline Village Foundation. Louis, you might tell us about the CT scan and all that's gone on there. That may not be up to date.
Yeah, I can come up here real quick. So yeah, we're just amazingly excited to, of course, announce to the Incline community that they have a brand new CT and X-ray machine there in that community, and it's, the best technology that is out there on the market at the moment. So that is all to do with the amazing contributions that come from that community, and also a very special family in the Helmsley Charitable Trust. So so fortunate, and right now we've got great feedback that the machine and the room is just beautiful. So,
And mammography is coming.
yeah, mammography will come in the spring, so spring of '24.
Yep. So great
Fantastic,
things going on
yeah.
with their foundation.
Okay, great. Does any other board member have any reports they want to give? Well, I want to let you know that we did get an invitation this year, again, to have two of our members attend the quarterly general medical staff meeting. I think the first one's going to be in February, so I'll be putting out an email to you, giving the dates of the quarterly so that you can say whether you're available to attend. It'll be two of our board members for each of them. So that's one thing. And the other is that our committees, our board committee memberships will stay the same. All of our members are doing good work on the committees, and they want to stay on them and get some of their projects completed. So there won't be any changes. And for those staff members that are on them, I'm sure will be happy that they don't have to reorient everybody to what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I passed out to our board members the trustee insight. We are coming up with an educational plan for the board for this year, and we'll be doing it at the governance meeting in February. But I wanted to give you this because it talks about the trends, governance trends in 2024. And if you go through it, you may want to highlight some of it that we want to have further discussion during our retreat on, or maybe it'll spur topics that you'd like to have covered during our retreat, which we're hoping is going to be in April. And I think you might be getting calls interviewing you, asking you about ideas for topics to present at that meeting. Okay. So those are the end of our remarks, and if there's no further business, we'll adjourn. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.